Welcome to Studio One. If you like what you see, like and subscribe and comment. How's it like over there? How's life?
It's okay. Things are slowly opening up, which is good. We're kind of slowly coming towards the end of like full on lockdown, so things are starting to kind of loosen up a little bit. It's been nice to get out and do some normal things,
Yeah.
just like getting coffee and walking around, like
Uh,
luxuries that we all took for granted. But yeah, how's it in Toronto?
we re-locked back up, so
Oh,
it's a
I'm
pretty
so sorry.
confusing time. We're just exhausted. We're
Yeah,
not like especially the young people are like, okay,
yeah,
for everybody we have to do this,
for
but like
sure.
it's
Absolutely, mate.
it's
It's
so weird.
fatigue. It's the
Yeah.
fatigue setting in, and everyone's just like, I want to get back to work. We want to get back to what we love. And yeah, actually, my friend Courtney, she's in Winnipeg,
Uh-huh.
and she was saying that things were pretty bad again, like a couple of
Yeah,
weeks ago.
Halifax, which
Um,
it's not Winnipeg, but Halifax apparently has
yeah,
closed back up. That's another
really.
province. Yeah, it's strange. It feels like we're behind a lot of other countries in the world.
Oh man, dude, we were like that there. Honestly, I feel you. We had like we were looking at like even you guys, or even like the states. We were looking at the US, thinking, wow, the vaccine program is really rolling out. And then someone told us the other day that 70% of our population has been offered the vaccine. And I thought, oh, that's really great. And we're such a tiny little island, but we've got a little ways to go yet. But
Mhm.
man, my heart's with you, dude. I hope you come out of it soon, and I'm glad you're keeping safe and busy. It looks the Studio One stuff is incredible. Like
Thank you,
some
man.
of the artists you've had on, like I was listening to them on Spotify the other day and was obsessed with Valley for the longest time, like the last year. I was like, oh no way, these guys were on it with Jibril. That's so cool. And yeah, I just love the interviews. They're really, really cool. So thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I was like, oh, this guy is so nice with us. Like, is he like just getting started? But then I saw, oh, okay,
Oh,
you've been in music for a while. Like, you're just
yeah, yeah.
so like it was like
Different
yeah, it
take,
was like
basically.
oh, it's a super nice guy. Like we got to
Oh
get him
man.
on, but like I didn't know about Jibril. Didn't tell like he keeps a lot of things low key, so I didn't know that
Sure.
he's been waiting to talk to us for a long time.
Oh,
So
that's cool, man. Honestly, it means the world that you're having me, and yeah, it was just really lovely reaching out when it was just before Jibril started his new job, and I thought it'd be great to
yeah,
chat to you when maybe like closer to the summer, because I think I just put my last Sam Martin song out. It was "Do You
mm,
Know Me?" And I said I really basically I'm putting all of my like love and time and energy into Lake. So I was like, let's maybe chat about the Lake stuff. He was like, yeah, yeah, for sure, man. Whenever things open up and whenever we've got a slot. So thank you so much. It means the world.
so I'm Mike from Studio One, taking over the torch from Jibril, Lake's dream indie pop artist. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up in Oxfordshire? Was it a college town? Was it a school town?
Yeah, I think whenever anyone thinks of Oxfordshire and they're not from the UK, you always think of the university. I was actually funny enough, I was nowhere near Oxford Uni, but I yeah grew up in a little village just outside of Oxfordshire, and just was a crazy music scene growing up. Like it's because it's so small over here. The music scene is really tight knit and really close. I think if you speak to any UK based artists, they'll tell you like smaller towns like Oxford and Brighton and London, that's where I sort of first started playing music. But yeah, going back to growing up, just had super musical parents. Both my parents are really into like just every genre of music. So we always had really great classic albums playing in the house. And I think it was kind of unavoidable in a way going into music in some capacity. So yeah, that was it. I grew up playing guitar and singing, and my mum would like teach me piano, and I was just obsessed with songwriting since I was really little. So I just always just what I've always wanted to do, basically. I think where I'm from definitely like shaped that, just like the different influences around me. But yeah, for sure, it was pretty cool place.
Great. So what kind of music did you start first making? Was it Jimi Hendrix covers? Because you mentioned he was a huge influence on you.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, I think every like 10-year-old kid in their room when they first start playing guitar wants to be Jimmy, and
Hmm.
I was definitely no exception. I just got really into like just really great songwriters. Like I remember first hearing Carole King and Nina Simone, and people like Neil Young when I was like maybe 11 or 12, and just thinking, oh, if I can, I think I felt such a certain way when I listened to good songs, good guitar playing and good instrumentalists with their own thing. But I think I just wanted to write music that made people feel how I felt, if that makes sense. So yeah, those are definitely a few kind of big early influences. Yeah, just those great 60s 70s songwriters. Like, I'm still obsessed with them today. So yeah, they were definitely
kind of, they live perpetually in our heads. Yeah, the music
yeah,
forever. Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. So a couple words that you described yourself with include fresh, relatable, nostalgic, dreamy, heartfelt. In recent interviews, do these words still resonate with you?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's always, like I said, it's just about evoking as much emotion as I can. I think that's the only reason I've carried on writing the music I've written is I think when I wrote my stuff before LAYKS was very much just me and an acoustic guitar or an electric guitar on my own, you know, which was great. But the more I dug into production, the more I dug into how I want LAYKS to sound, I was like, I just want to pack this stuff with so much kind of dreamy longing and a lot of ethereal ambient stuff. And that's the music that's always kept me coming back. So I think, yeah, it still resonates. It's still definitely how I'd always want to be tagged, I suppose. If you were to kind of sum it up in a few words, I think it's really hard to define yourself if you don't really know how you sound. But I always say, my manager said to me a couple of weeks ago, like, you create your own thing when you fail to sound like your heroes. And I was like, yeah, that's so true, because I've never really known how to describe the LAYKS stuff, but I always wanted it to be listenable and relatable and, you know, dreamy and ambient and all those kind of different descriptions. But ultimately for me, if someone can listen to it and go like, oh yeah, I could listen to that like on a drive or at the beach or when I'm like running, you know, to have like a broad spectrum, that's all I want at the moment, you know.
Yeah, great. So Peppa Pig has actually exploded all over China, the popularity. A lot of Americans and Canadians see the English accent as like a trustworthy, knowledgeable accent. So
Wow,
you
okay.
listen to people like John Oliver, you pretty much believe what he says. And even when I look at British comedians, they feel like they have just a natural sense of authority. Do you take advantage of that?
Oh man, that's hilarious. I was just talking about the John Oliver thing. We literally were watching that the other night. That's so funny. I can't believe you brought that up. Yeah, I think like, well, it's really funny. The way LAYKS started is I spent a lot of time in Los Angeles in 2019, and I love that place like so much. And I went out there, and I'd never ever been to the States before, so it was just really funny. I've never had my accent be like a novelty or like a talking point before, because I'd never left like Europe, because I've been to like France and Italy with family and friends, and I was like, I wonder if it's true. I wonder if it's as like romanticized as it is in the media. First trip into like a Starbucks, this really lovely couple ran over and they were like, oh my god, say something English. And I was just like, hello, and I was just trying to be like as polite as possible, and that was the first thing they said, like, you're so polite. I was like, oh thanks, we try and be polite. But I guess Canadians get that too, right? Like, between the US and Canada, like, I mean, every single Canadian person I've met has been super friendly and super hospitable, and it's just it's so funny how like our accent can determine that. I think it's true. Yeah, to a degree, I think it's definitely true. People just always want to talk to you.
Yeah, Canadians, because of the whole colony aspect, we seem more like, oh, they're British. They're from
Yeah.
the past.
From
Yeah,
the past, from years gone by, from many moons ago. Yeah, I feel that. I totally feel that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting.
the Americans were probably like, oh, this kid. I better tell my kids, like, just some kid from Harry Potter just showed by.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
probably what they think.
Oh man, the Harry Potter references are endless. Yeah, it's brilliant if you speak to someone who's never like, because I don't really know, my accent over here is fairly nondescript. Like, it's
Right.
not what you'd call like posh. It's not like, you know, my parents are both from London, so it's not like Cockney, but it's not Northern. It's like its own little Midlands accent. but they don't care in America. It's like,
Oh,
you sound remotely like Daniel Radcliffe, therefore I'm gonna compare it to Harry Potter. But I love it. I just really fell in love with LA, and just how like people will just come up to you and say that in America. And like, people are so much more conversational. We're cool over here. We can be a little bit more closed off, but I like how it's a talking point, isn't it? You know, as long as somebody wants to chat, it's all good with me, man.
yeah. So you mentioned the importance of keeping venues alive. Would you ever consider opening up your own venue?
Oh, totally. Yeah. That's always been a dream. I think when I'm at a point in my life where, you know, I've like put down my roots a bit more, I'm talking like quite late on in my life, maybe, I would love to open just a super chill grassroots, you know, a kind of a venue where bands can start, but bands, you know, that are more established can kind of, there are those certain venues in the world where we have one in our town, the O2 Academy, and the O2 Academies in general are quite like, you know, you can be a beginner as a band, you can be kind of starting out as a band and play there, and then, you know, like Kings of Leon will play there. It's everything from every spectrum of people's careers. So I'd love to just open like a really chill, you know, really kind of like cross-genred venue that is just run by people that love music. Maybe when I'm like, you know, older and wiser. But that's a sick question. Yeah, I'd love to do that one day for sure.
Yeah,
That's because it's just so important to me, like keeping obviously through COVID, like so many venues in the UK closed down, which is heartbreaking. There was one in my kind of the village or the town that I grew up near that shut down, and we were so heartbroken, man. Like, this place, the Cellar, had like given us so much as bands, and yeah, to see it go was pretty sad. So if I can give anything back to like new artists, then I'd be super grateful for that. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a pretty iconic venues closing too. I wonder what venues are gonna survive down the road.
Yeah.
You know, happy thoughts.
Happy thoughts. That's what I've been saying all week. It's like happy thoughts. Like, it's looking good. It's looking more positive every week. Like, I know we've had a few setbacks, and we were talking, like, you know, about different countries being behind and stuff. But man, yeah, I just hope that when we pull through, it's kind of like looking out the blinds. I was liking it to kind of like an apocalypse happening, like meteors coming down, and everyone's looking out the window like, I think we're okay. I think we made it through. We good? And then we just walk outside. It's like, okay, just pick up the rubble, clear the roads, like everything's all right. Everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah, it's like that meme with the fire in the background.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. When it's like 2 minutes past your shift and you've just clocked off and 10 customers come in, it's like the fire.
Oh God. No, you're leaving.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So what were the biggest lessons from performing with big acts like James Bay in the 1975? Was it all a blur, or did you take in all the moments?
Oh man, I learned so much from just being around bands that I loved, or artists that I love. Even just down to little things like just speaking to them about, you know, stuff that musicians, you wouldn't think that you know, you'd ask like your heroes, just about touring and how do you keep a level head, and like how do you do this. And you know, when I met Matt Healy when they weren't even called the 1975, they were called Talk House. And this was like 2013, very early 2013, and they were just starting to get big. And you know, when I opened for James Bay, and it was like a similar thing. I was just talking to like him and his manager and friends that were there in his band, and there's just this, I think the one lesson is just like they're all still best friends playing music, and they just love it so much. I think the best bit of advice I got given on that night was just like, just always enjoy it. Like, you know, and if something's not right, whether it's like in your team or in your band or relationships, just try and like just hone in on it and like fix it straight away. Because to me, to them, you know, the world's kind of looking up to them, but I think in their heads they're still just like teenagers playing music in their garage together, which I think is really grounding for, you know, an up and coming artist to talk to one of their heroes and them to be like, oh yeah, like I treat my day just like you know, I still get nervous, I still get scared, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, I'm allowed to get scared. That's fine.
Right.
Just to let it be human, to let music be as human as possible, you know, which might sound a bit cheesy, but it's true. It's definitely true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you want to make like really hardcore, like if you want to force Conflict to make, I don't know, hardcore rock music, and you're literally,
Yeah.
I saw like an SNL thing where like I think a band member was literally like slapping their drummer like on stage. I think there
Oh
were
yeah.
certain situations, but
Yeah, for sure.
for the most part,
Everyone's got those falling outs and stuff. Like
yeah.
I've never. It was one thing about being a solo artist for so long is I always had like my mates were always like my session band, so
Mhm.
I never had any kind of hard feelings with anybody. I've had like, you know, there's always situations where, you know, emotions are high if it's like a stressful week and you've played like a load of shows in a row. But I think the biggest lesson I learned from like playing on those stages and being around those people is like, man, they all just love it. Like they love it exactly the same now as they did from when they were like 16. And
Mhm.
I think it's really grounding and like humbling to be like, oh yeah, they're, you know, they're just like us. They're just like the rest of us. It sounds really cheesy, like just like a normal human being, like the rest of us. But yeah, I mean, if I want to start writing like thrash metal, and you know, managers are just kind of stood to the side, like, all right, man, that doesn't kind of fit in with like the dreamy LAYKS aesthetic. Do you want to maybe like reconsider? That's hilarious. I'm definitely throwing in that curveball. I'm gonna be in like a Zoom meeting one day and be like, so I'm thinking about Swedish thrash metal. Like, I'm not gonna lie, and just see how it goes down. Yeah, that's
For sure.
cool. That's
Yeah.
giving me a really good idea now.
Yeah. Start exploring,
Yeah, there you go.
putting ideas in your head like
Yeah,
Inception.
man. Absolutely, it is like Inception. Great reference.
So you've mentioned that you wanted to perform in Nippon Budokan, so Budokan Arena in
Yeah,
Tokyo. Why
man.
specifically that venue? Because I had to look it up. Like
Really? Oh,
it's a
yeah.
big venue, but it's not like it's so specific.
It's so specific because, and this is such a funny story. I remember seeing there was like a documentary about it when I was, because I went to music college basically, and my tutor was like, oh, like if you can play here, you can play the Budokan. And I was like, Budokan, what is that? I know that name. And we watched this documentary about it and just how massive it is. And I always kind of like parodied myself and being like, the music I played even like 2 years ago is not arena filling music in my mind. Like, you know, I've only just gotten to a point where I'm comfortable kind of like selling out a big club or like an O2 Academy. And I just think it was kind of funny how I was like, oh yeah, I could sell out. Oh, one day I'll play the Budokan. And with every bit of seriousness, my manager looked at me, like put his hand on my shoulder, like, you will play the Budokan. It was like Wayne's World. It was amazing. It's like, yeah, you will, one day, man, you will have it. And I've never seen so much like intent in someone's eyes. He was like, no, you make fun of yourself, but like, mark my words. I was like, okay. So yeah, most supportive manager in the world. He's great. So that's quite funny. I don't know why specifically I always just go back to that venue. I think it's because it's really big and I'm obsessed with that country, and I'd love to play some shows in Asia. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in a park. You can imagine the Japanese fans like being really like, you know, how the stadium shows, they'll like clap rhythmically, like
Yeah,
all
for
like
sure.
the
And
energy
I hear
there.
that from
Yeah.
artists, like crowds, you know, crowds out there, and it's the same, like specific countries, like there are always artists that say, oh yeah, crowds in like Berlin are really into it. Or John Mayer was saying like his crowds in Tokyo are so like invested but respectful. I think that's a really funny combination in an arena. To imagine people being respectful in like the O2 in London is just hilarious. Like just is we're mad dogs out here. It's great. But a lot of the LAYKS stuff, what really surprised me is more and more people from all these places were listening to me, like from the Philippines and Japan and like Thailand. And I was really shocked. Like I didn't even know that those places would know I exist, let alone listen to my music. So one day I'll head out there when the world is in better shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Another Day is the first record I played from you. So, while my parents were lecturing in the background about something, the music actually kept me sane.
Oh,
Everybody knows you're hurting. Is it about a breakup, or I was trying to
yeah.
get it?
Yeah, it's not even, funny thing is, it wasn't even my breakup. It was a friend of mine. She was going through like just like the worst kind of messy breakup you could go through. And that lyric came from a conversation. I think a lot of songwriters will say they're guilty of like, they'll say something out loud and then like get their phone out and put it in their notes, like, hey, everyone knows you're hurting. And then just like put it in their notes, like, that'll make a great lyric.
Yeah.
I didn't say that to her at the time. But that whole song is just about like, it's half about me missing someone I couldn't be with. And then it's half about like, kind of, is the idea of this, greater than actually the reality of it, was the whole kind of dialogue with Another Day. But yeah, on the face of it, just sounds like a really sweet love song about missing someone. But that bridge is kind of like the breaking point of everyone knows you're hurting, step into the light, my words are marking you, like, meaning like, every day you say like, I miss you, it kind of hurts more and more, is the sort of meaning behind it. But yeah, I do that a lot at the moment. I'm not even necessarily writing about my own experiences. I'll write about like a conversation I had with a friend or a situation they've been in. But that's where that came from. Yeah.
So, internet friends, the guitars start really country, and then they
Oh,
fade
nice.
into the background, and your voice takes over. At first, I was like, "Is this a country ballad?" Oh, okay.
Sweet.
I feel like it's the thoughts you go through while you're trying to go to sleep, and it keeps you up at night. Are we
Yeah.
real or are we internet friends? So, what was the story behind that song?
I love that. That's such a cool way. First of all, that's a wicked way of thinking about it. I love it. Yeah, funnily enough, like I finished that song really late one night before I was going to bed. It's like you're in my mind. That's crazy. Um, it's about how like it doesn't matter. Like I've met so many people through, Instagram, Twitter, everything that we've kind of used to stay in touch with each other this last year. I I wouldn't have Lakes if it wasn't for the people I've met on the internet. Genuinely, like I wouldn't have started this project and completely rebranded myself if it wasn't for like, those kind of quote unquote internet friends. It's about how like at the end of the day we're all connected and we're all talking and it doesn't really matter. And it kind of sounds like I'm saying in the song, it kind of sounds like I'm saying like, oh, like, are we even real or are we just like internet friends? But the flip of that is like, actually, I don't care. Like you're a friend and you've been there with me through the start of this crazy like whirlwind of a year. So um it was like a homage to all those people, I guess, like a kind of tribute to all my friends that I've never even been in the same room with. Which if you told like our parents that, like even like 10 years ago, to be like, oh yeah, like my friend so and so in like, in Beijing, or my friend, in Canada, like I was saying, my friend in Winnipeg, it's like, oh wow, like I've never actually stood in the same room with you guys yet. You've been here like every day of my life since lockdown started. And to tell you the truth, I wouldn't have had the time to start Lakes if it wasn't for all those people. So it felt really right to have that as the debut single. And I'm just super happy with it. I'm super happy with what it did and what it's like and how it kind of resonated with people differently. But yeah, and that was a really cool like observation of that song. I love that. That's wicked.
I'm glad. Yeah. So going back to people you meet on the internet. So during the middle, let's say half a year ago, I
Mm,
started streaming on Twitch, and a lot of
nice.
just like putting myself on camera. And once in a while, there would be like this kindred spirit or something that would just talk to me for hours. And
Yeah.
there was a person who helped me through a pretty tough time. Like she was just there.
Yeah.
She was from somewhere, I forgot, in the UK. We'd have
Oh,
no connection, but she was just talk to me
she was
like
there for you. Yeah.
for several hours. And
Mm.
another time, this guy from Chicago, we talked, and he was kind of down. And you meet a lot of people that you really connect with pretty much randomly. The sad thing
Yeah.
is they don't ever come back, really. But
I
that's
always liken it to, it's the kind stranger in a bar bathroom. When you're on a night out, you're in a nightclub, and you meet that lovely person that like compliments your outfit, or you say, "Hey man, nice necklace," or whatever. Like it's like a more global version of that. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that, man. That makes me like choke up a bit, because you've pretty much just described like something that happened literally. I was talking to my friend in New York, and we've been speaking for like a couple of years, and he was saying like, man, this terrible point in his life. And I said, oh man, I didn't realize how much we were there for each other through that, and I haven't actually ever met you, which is just insane. And I love that you know, those people got you through that, because it's totally what that song's about. Like, doesn't matter if we're just internet, you know, if we're internet friends, quote unquote, we're still really good friends. And you know, a lot of the time, you know, they know more about you than people that have been in your life for like years, right? Do you like? I guess with Twitch, you probably find that too. Like,
They were just comments.
yeah,
They were just typing, and I still felt something. Yeah, it's great.
yeah, it's amazing. I love that. I love stories like that so much.
Yeah, the best thing. Yeah, one of the best
For
things.
sure. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, and to follow up on the internet, like during the pandemic, so me and Jibril would usually just talk over Instagram, but we bump into each other in public, and that was pretty much the only time that we bump into each other during the pandemic. It felt really weird and awkward. So I felt like that was going to happen with a lot more friends that I will hopefully eventually see. Are you starting to see friends out of your immediate bubble?
Am I starting to see? Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to see people that both people that now things are opening up, that I haven't seen in a while. We've been in the studio more, which has been great. And we went to the studio the other day, and I was just like, I haven't seen you since the start of this, and that's crazy enough. But what's really cool is like finally meeting some of the people that I've been talking to all this time, which has been really nice. Like, I haven't done it too much because, you know, just life is also coming back, so that means like responsibilities coming back. But I love that even you guys felt that, because I can't believe that we've been in this for so long, and it feels good to kind of make some of your internet friends like real life in-person friends of, wow, we're actually in the same room. That's super cool. And you sort of never really think you're going to be there, don't you? You're like, oh wow, but it's taken us a year, but we're finally here. So yeah, it's been really, really cool.
Yeah. So you mentioned writing a record on a plane. Is that Santa Monica, the record on a plane?
Yeah, I finished. Funnily enough, we recorded most of that in Santa Monica, bar the last bit of the vocals, or the last, like, the kind of bridge and the last verse. And I kind of had it as this, what I call like a hard drive hit. Like I'd had it like in my back pocket for ages. And I was going to release it as myself. I mean, that was what, the middle of 2019. So yeah, way before COVID was even a thing. And I finished it on a plane coming home, and it was one of those funny things where like we had all this studio time in LA, and then just when I was leaving, I was like, trust it to be now that I finish it. Like, we'd worked on it for like a couple of days, and I was like, now it's done. You know, now that I've like gotten to the middle of this flight, I feel like flying for me is always like super, I don't know what it is, but you're so far removed from everything. You kind of feel quite isolated. They're great writing conditions, because you're like, you're always in your thoughts, and you're always in your head, and you've got nowhere to go, obviously. So yeah, the last bit, which is like, you let me run to the California sun, that was like, perfect. And then got home and finished the song in the studio. So that's kind of interesting. Like, it's sort of spliced between a few different places, that track. But yeah.
You also mentioned during the writing of the song that you were trying to ask yourself tough questions like, does your artistry honestly reflect your soul or your person? What have you learned about yourself during the lockdown?
I think just like my ability to let go of, I think a lot of musicians have this semi-identity crisis, maybe more than once in their life, where they're like, does my art reflect my character? Does my character reflect my art? Kind of like, I always have to be seen as this music guy. I always have to be really in touch with like my musicianship. And I think one thing lockdowns taught me is just like, as long as you're happy, and as long as you're doing things that make you happy, you know, I'll be honest, for the last like year of releasing stuff under my own name, I had LAYKS in my back pocket. I was like ready to rebrand and to change it, and I was like, hey, this is going to make me feel great. And yeah, it was just about that discussion of like, okay, you know, am I happy in myself and what I'm doing? Is this music I'm releasing now how I want to be remembered? And I kind of just clicked like, wait, I'm going to be remembered. Like, you know, it shouldn't just all be about what you create in the way. It should just be who you are. So yeah, that's an awesome question. I think it's something everybody asks themselves, but maybe they don't necessarily know how to like ask it, if that makes sense. Like a lot of people get kind of freaked out. I just had like a eureka moment of like, who am I as an artist, and is that who I am now? And that's basically where LAYKS started. Like, you know, my name is Sam Martin, but I record under LAYKS and everything comes out under that alias now. And it just, I think for the first time, like I feel like I've arrived at like just a really happy place as a musician, which sounds really like kind of a big revelation, you know, for something that I kind of have known since 2019. But it yeah, it kind of ended that discussion, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's go back to happy thoughts. So what LA?
Sure.
Well, you said spent a pretty good amount of time in LA. I've always wanted to move to LA, so I have my heart in LA. So what was that like? What was that trip like?
Oh man, I got on a plane by myself on the 30th of March 2019. I'm such a nerd with dates. I don't know why I remember stuff I had so well. I had like just gone through a breakout at the end of 2018, and my manager went to this. We played this gig in Hackney Chapel, and he was like, "Man, you should just like in the new year, you should just go away by yourself. Go somewhere where you've always wanted to go." And a friend of mine lived in Glendale at the time, so I was like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to go to LA." And I literally just booked a flight on my own and flew out, and just I fully fell in love with it from like the first day I was there. Like the people, the pace, the scenery, obviously like the weather. You always grow up as a Brit in the rain, as a British person, where we get like
snow.
Oh man,
months of snow. Yeah,
literally always snowing. Like always really miserable in the winter. Like I got really enamored with it from when I was a kid, and like growing up watching, you know, all the movies we watch over here. But yeah, I flew out on my own, and I landed like really late at night. And the moment I walked out of the airport, I was like, I know one person here. Like I'm in one of the biggest cities in the world, and I know one person, and he's working right now. I have to find my own way through LA right now on my own. And I remember at the time I had an old iPhone, and I didn't even have like roaming data. So I was in this situation that anybody else should have been really scared of. But I was so excited because I didn't have any preconception about like, oh, I have to do this and this. And yeah, man, I think that trip was like one of the biggest like life-changing moments of my life, because I was just like so obsessed with doing stuff. And yeah, then I went back out in September that year and did some more recording and saw some friends, and it was, yeah, just I love that place. I can see why your heart would be there, because I feel like you always kind of leave a little bit of yourself there when you go. I'd love to live there. Yeah. Whereabouts would you want to live in LA?
Well, do you know Vince Staples, the rapper?
Yeah.
He always talks about move to Torrance.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's like every outlet is like move to Torrance, but I don't know what it's like at all. I wonder if I really love LA or just the idea of it, like the mix of it, because I first fell in love with like YouTube culture. All the YouTubers went to LA, and
true.
Comedians. So the comedian, well, they're going to Texas, but we're not going to talk about Texas. Everything that I love is pretty much out of LA, and the people are there.
For sure.
But I sometimes ask myself, is it because I fell in love with the idea of it, the movie version of it? But you've been there. When I was in Anaheim, I was at Disneyland.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Because we were on the tour bus, we were everywhere except LA. So I know about it, but I haven't been it. So
you've been near and around it. Yeah. I think it's kind of like when people say they're from London, or like I'm like, oh, I've been near London, but I live in Oxford. Like I spend most of my time like in and around London and Oxford. But yeah, I guess it's the same thing. Like you can be so close to somewhere but never really see it that well. I totally get what you mean about, oh, am I in love with the idea of it? You know, have I fallen in love with the idea of a place or a place? And I was sat like, I think I was in Echo Park, and I was literally sat under a palm, doing the most un-British things. I was sat under a palm tree in the middle of like April, wearing like a t-shirt. Like that would never happen over here. You would freeze in a second if you did that in England. And I was like, yeah, I could live here. I could, you know, this is great. The people are all super friendly. You know, there's a good coffee shop every two blocks. Like this is, or every block. This is amazing. I love this place, and just fully didn't want to come home. Yeah, maybe we'll head out there together one day. Maybe by luck we'll end up out there at the same time. That would be super cool.
Go to some taco trucks.
Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah, some corn dog places. That'd be great.
Yeah. So this is more of a comment than a question. So the releases you have so far with LAYKS, the visual branding of the singles and how gentle your delivery is, it reminds me of looking at sunsets. You're sad that the day is over, but you're lucky to see like a quite beautiful time of the day. So internet friends are sleepless nights. Santa Monica is the early mornings, and another day are the sunsets. Is this kind of the vibe that you're going with?
I love that. That's literally it. Yeah. That's a really, really cool way of looking at it. Thank you. First of all, that's like, no one's ever said that before. I'm massively like influenced by just the time of the day and nature and scenery. And I think when I wrote Another Day, I kind of had aesthetically, this is the thing with the LAYKS stuff, with my music I was releasing under my own name, I didn't really ever have like a set aesthetic or stylistically an idea of what I wanted it to look like. But I remember thinking that, yeah, Another Day, sunset, Santa Monica is going to be like a kind of coffee morning song. Internet Friends is maybe like that kind of insomnia late night track. Yeah, I think Time of the Day, like I said, about kind of having that broad spectrum of like moods to let people feel. I wanted to make it so people could put on a playlist and be like, oh, I'm feeling kind of low today. Like, let's stick on Internet Friends and Santa Monica, and then like a couple of the tracks on the EP, which I'm like, it's going to be out in the summer. Like I might as well already like just say it here. Like there's a song called Cowboy, which is just so like summery, and it's just really kind of, yeah, like that exactly that. Just kind of like it gets you moving, and I love that track. I think there are some songs where I get really, I'm proud of them, but then there are other tracks where I'm like, man, I just want it to be out already so people can hear it. I'm so excited to put Cowboy out. Like you can see on my face, like I cannot wait. I can't wait for that track to be out, and I think it kind of completes the cycle of like day to night, I guess. But that's a really, really cool way of looking at it. I love that so much.
Yeah. And I guess that's a general, is it fair to say like a general theme of the EP, or is it a bigger theme? Or
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's definitely, that would be a good way of like thematically looking at the EP as like just moods. And it's called Crybaby, which I haven't announced. Like I'm going to be announcing that this week. I thought, tell you guys first. The EP is called Crybaby, and it's coming out this summer. And I think I called it that because like I've always been pretty proud of like being sensitive in a way where you're just like, you wear your heart on your sleeve, and you're kind of very open and emotional, and you're not afraid to write about anything, so that's why I wanted to call the EP Crybaby, because it's kind of, it sounds like it's poking fun at myself, but it's actually like, no, I'm proud. Like I'm happy that, it's good to cry. It's good to cry. It's good to write kind of what I'd call like a happy, sad song, where like it might sound happy, but the lyrics are a little bit more melancholy, or songs like Cowboy, where it's straight up just like, I want to be your everything. Like I want to be your cowboy, your only, like there's some really fun lyrics in that where I kind of, you imagine how it's going to look as well as how it sounds, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think aesthetically, I'm just really excited for the EP to come out, man. I can't wait for the visuals to come together and all of that stuff that you spend ages on. So Yeah, definitely.
Are you, any by chance, are you a Cancer?
No, I'm an Aquarius. I'm
Oh,
Aquarius, January 22nd. But I can see why you would say that.
because when people like on TikTok, they make fun of signs and Cancers are
Yeah,
emotional, but oh,
for sure. I'm an
oh,
honorary Cancer, I think.
honor.
Uh,
Yes,
my
we
friend Darcy, yeah, my friend, she says that. Yeah, I should be an honorary Cancer. How about you?
I'm a Cancer. That's why I asked.
Oh, there you go. See, energy, energy, energy. Always. I
For sure.
love.
Yeah. So excited to see you do shows with a vengeance, quoting yourself from another interview.
Sure.
Hopefully, we all get back onto the right steps, and want to
Yeah,
see you in Botokan Arena and
definitely. One day, man. One
yeah,
day.
LA, do it all. Yeah. Go to warm places. It just snowed
Yeah.
today. So,
Oh, no way. Oh
yeah.
man, we'll get out to LA. Don't worry. We'll be out there together. It'll be
Yeah.
like the snow never happened.
Yeah. Skipping and pretending nothing.
Skipping, jumping, yeah, running through sunsets, going to Malibu will be great. Yeah,
For sure.
mark my words, man.
Excellent. Excellent. You made this so easy. So,
Dude,
yeah. Hope you have a good night.
thank you so much. This has been so much fun, mate. Thank you for having me, and congratulations with everything. Yeah, super, super happy for you guys, and it's been a blast. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All the best. Thanks.
All right, all the best.
Bye.
Studio One.